Hello and welcome to Eat, Drink, and Be Giving at Home, benefiting the children and families of Skookum Kids. My name is Lonnie Swanson, a founding member of Skookum Kids Board of Directors, and I'm so glad that you have chosen to be with us this evening to hear about all the incredible foster care being done in our community. It might be hard to believe, but Skookum Kids is 7 years old now. I remember with fondness many days and nights spent praying with other Christians that God would intervene, that He would work a miraculous transformation of our broken foster care system. And He has done that. God has worked powerfully in the hearts of His people throughout Bellingham and caused them to rise up and together say, "We can do better for kids." I was honored to serve on the board for the first 6 years and to watch this organization come together and serve one child, one family, one miracle at a time. And tonight, I cannot wait to hear about the work that has gone on over the last year. Together, we'll hear from a foster family who have been part of several successful family reunifications, and from a spunky young alumni of foster care who has some things she thinks every adult should know about foster care. And it's my hope that these stories give us all a small window into the work. One thing to note, through the evening, we've changed some names to protect the privacy of children and their families. But I'd love to open our evening in the same way we open every board meeting, with prayer. Great God of the fatherless, thank you for the way you have worked in and through this organization, this collection of individuals, to care for the little ones. And thank you for the way you have provided. I pray that you would inspire us this evening with your kindness and fill our hearts with love and generosity. It is in your name that we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Lonnie. You know, some of the best advice that I received in the early days of Skookum was about board members. Somebody told me that I should look for board members who believe not just in the mission or the organization, that stuff's important, obviously, but I should look for board members who believe in me. The reasoning went, you're trying to do a big, hard thing together, and you want people who believe that you can pull it off. And I've been blessed to work with a number of board members over the years, like Lonnie, who have frankly had more belief in me and in our team than they really had reason to. And two of them are concluding 2 consecutive terms of service next month and joining Lonnie as board alumni. They are Alan Artman and Randy Prees, and I wanted to take a moment to honor them. Alan is a person of equal parts skill and kindness. He joined the Skookum board just before the house opened for the first time and became our treasurer at a time when our financial records were kept in a combination of spreadsheets and my handwriting. Now, if you've ever read my handwriting, you know exactly how dubious that situation was. Alan is so skilled. He immediately made us better. He designed a system of financial controls that gave our supporters and the rest of the board confidence that we were being good stewards of their investment in kids. And that gave, our staff the flexibility that we needed to work fast. And that's a really difficult balance to strike, accountability and flexibility. Alan is also kind. When things got hard, as they always do, he could be counted on to point the board's attention to the reason that we're going to all this trouble, which is to make life a little better for some kids who really need it. And Randy. The best way that I could describe Randy to you is to say that he is a non-anxious presence. Randy joined the board in 2016 and served for a year before the group asked him to step in and lead them as chairman. And since then, there have been a number of difficult choices for that group, choices around which there were some very sharp differences of opinion. And Randy, with unflappable calm, always made space for every voice to be heard and for every perspective to be considered and for the group to come to the best decision possible. Randy was the original champion of our staff retreat, which has become an important tradition. and our sabbatical policy, of which I was the very grateful recipient earlier this year. Both of these men joined the board of a small, hopeful project, and soon they will depart the board of a much larger, much better, much more durable, more capable, full-grown organization. And that evolution is a credit to them and the influence they've had on Skookum and on me. So to Randy, Alan, Lonnie, and all of our board members, present and former, thank you. I hope that you are deeply and profoundly proud of what we have accomplished together.
Hi, I'm Jason Manning.
And I'm Heather Manning, and we're foster parents here in the state of Washington and have been licensed through Skookum since 2018. We have 3 bio kids, ages 15, 14, and 11, and we've really enjoyed our experience with fostering and welcoming kids and parents and Skookum into our lives, into our home these past 3+ years.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest takeaways for us is our experience with doing this as an entire family. It's so amazing to see the kids gain an understanding and have so much joy in something that we're blessed to be doing. It's funny, we're currently in what we call our mourning stage of fostering, where we take a few months after a child has been reunified with their parents to both be happy and sad and continue to support the parents and care for the child even after they've left our house. But our kids, what's funny is our kids are begging for us to take another child into care, and they really enjoy it. And I can see the love and care that they have in the process as well.
Yeah, we do it as a family so that our kids feel both included in the decision and included in the building the relationships with the foster kids. We feel like our kids have gained an outlook and an understanding about real life, and they have a genuine appreciation for their own life. They've got a sense of sacrifice and giving and just caring out of our ability to do that. It's something that we hope our kids will model throughout their lives, however that might look in their life. That's not to say that it doesn't come with a ton of hurt. Fostering is hard. It's the hardest thing that I have ever done. Loving someone, not knowing how long you get to love them, is a really scary thing to have to do. You have to love the kids in what we like to refer to the here and now. So we love them now for their tomorrow.
Yeah, it's equipping them today, loving them today, and trusting in their tomorrow. And for us, we realize that their tomorrow probably is not going to be with us. And so what makes sense for us, looking at their tomorrow and what that's going to be. And our greatest opportunity investing in their tomorrow has been being involved directly with the parent that will hopefully be reunified with their child. And for us, I know it might not always be the case, but for us, every foster child that has entered our home, we have eventually had the most positive interactions in the direct opportunity to invite them into the process of caring for their child while their child is in our care. And crazy enough, every child we have cared for long-term has been reunited with their parent or parents.
It isn't always easy, but as a mom, I try to relate to the parent. I try to put myself in their shoes and imagine how hard it would be for them to show up into our world when we know what they've been through and they've just had their child removed from their care. So I honestly think it's scarier for them than it is for us.
Yeah, this past year, we got to care for a baby that showed up at our house with 2 hours notice as a 7-week-old baby. And I had forgotten how small a 7-week-old baby was. And baby Bailey showed up early October, and by Christmas, Lisha, Bailey's mom, came and spent Christmas Eve with us. She came to our candlelight service at church, and she stayed the night and woke up with us Christmas morning. Bailey's first Christmas, and she didn't miss it. And we spent the morning together, and we had cinnamon rolls, and we opened up presents from Santa, and hopefully it played a part of the healing and reunification process. I truly believe it did, and probably for all of us, it'll be a Christmas that we will forever remember.
Yeah, Bailey's mom made a comment after Christmas that it was the best Christmas that she had ever had. And we honestly really loved sharing our Christmas with her. She was really great with Bailey and with our kids. And, you know, part of our hope is that our kids will see that, and that maybe down the road they'll share their Christmas or just a big part of their lives to have huge impact in someone else's life.
Yeah, it's crazy because we've walked foster kids through loss, death of a parent, loss of a grandparent, through the disappointment of a mom or dad that couldn't or wasn't present for a period of time. But again, in every case, the relationship between us and the child and the parent has, in every case, gotten to the point of healthy communication with them, where we have both been able to have so much influence and care for the parents, and as much care for the parents as we have with the child.
I think it's about creating a safe place for the child and the parent. And they might not even understand the safety in it, but in the moment. But what all kids need to know is that they are safe and loved no matter what. And honestly, the parent just needs the same thing.
Yeah, we're blessed enough to still have good and great communication with all of the kids and parents that have been in our care. And for me, I had a realization with one of the child that we took care of, Charlie. She had lost her dad while we were caring for her, and man, I love that girl. And I knew she was going to have a tough go at life, already far tougher than my daughter has it, and it's solely because of the cards that she was dealt, in which she had really no control over. But I knew that I would be there for her, that if she needed a dad, to bring your dad to school day, or a father figure for a prom night to assure that the boy would bring her home on time. And man, I'd be honored to walk her down the aisle if that's what she needed. But you see, it's that level of my hope and commitment to her. That's the level it is.
And that only happens. That continued care only happens when we're willing and capable to create and hold on to a safe space that we've created, even after the child's reunited with the parents. And it's honestly fun for us because we get to have Bailey still on some nights to help out her mom or just to spoil her. Or we get to watch James when Kaylee is in need of a sitter so she can work her full day. And we've sent Charlie and Josh birthday presents and FaceTime calls, and we honestly just get to watch all these kids grow up.
And sure, I mean, loving can be painful and there can be hurt sometimes, and we've shed our share of tears. But I feel like that's love, like that's part of it. I mean, they grow and we grow from it, and everyone around us gets to be a part of that as well. And we have the support system around us, and we get to welcome people into care and welcome people into the caring for the kids and share the load. And for us, that's the biggest reason we're able to do it. And Skookum plays a huge role in that with us. Our friends and family care for us. Our foster care specialist cares for us as well. And it's really the perfect team because Skookum has helped us through all of the crazy, sometimes messy and tough parts of it. They have helped us through with the details and the logistics of the process, the stuff that would bog us down and not allow us to care as much. The paperwork, the where to sign, the deadlines, the when you have to take a child to the dentist or the doctor, and all that kind of stuff.
But even more than that, we've used Skookum as a sounding board. We're able to ask them, what do you think about this crazy idea about having Lisha stay the night with us for Christmas? Or what do you think about having Daniela out the day before she goes to rehab? They have this experienced voice of reason, and even they sometimes keep us grounded, and they help us navigate the pull between the pull on our hearts, the logistical care of the child, and the relationship with the parents who desperately want their child back.
Yeah, and I'm a big sports guy, and I love me some football, and football is one of the greatest examples of the need of a solid team. In Skookum, for us, in the process of loving and caring for kids and interacting with parents, navigating the state requirements, opening up our home, welcoming new members into our family, and allowing them to then be reunified with their immediate family. And Skookum for us has rounded out that team in the most amazing of ways. From equipping us to get the ball rolling, to helping us answer the crazy ideas and questions that we have, to walking us through the hurt and pain, and celebrating with us the 100% reunification rate. I know it's crazy, but it's even more than that. It's celebrating with us the continued relationship and involvement of all the kids in families that have been a part of our lives.
I remember a lot more than most kids would at 4. It's very difficult growing up with those memories, I'd say, because you have to remember the times when there wasn't any food. You have to remember the times when, bad things happened. It's difficult because you think that your parents would have tried harder to care for you. I was 4 years old. It was July 3rd. It was just another not normal day. That was the day that my mother was arrested. All I remember is seeing lights and cars, and I remember tall people and a lot of people. And then I remember seeing my mother was in the back of a police car. I don't remember what happened to my other siblings. I just know that me and my sister, we were just very confused. The first year after my mother was arrested, I feel like that was the first time that I kind of relaxed, which was very, very good, because we can finally calm down, give our brains some time to think about the fact that our parent just got arrested. Is that a good thing? It was like the first chance I had to actually be a kid and not wanting to protect myself. And I had my sister with me. I thought I was finally safe with my sister. And then suddenly she had to leave. When she left, I remember watching her car drive away. And I didn't know if I'd see her again. I just completely blanked. There was nothing. There was not even sadness. It was just complete gray. Something that all foster kids, and I mean all, have difficulty with is feeling safe. It's sort of like they become a bunny and they're like just in this mode and they're tense and like they're ready to run if needed. And there's things like touching, even good touch, just like a hug, they're just like kind of tense and they're just tightened because touch has been violated. Something that's very important for me is when people understand that I'm different and they understand the things that are hard for me. And that people who are like me, who have had this type of stuff happen, they look like everyone else. They act like everyone else most of the time. It's very difficult being a foster kid. But those experiences really helped me understand that I want to help other kids like me, because that hard phase really shapes you into a better person, someone who understands people very well. You can see people who can change. You can see people who could be good friends, and you can see people who are really kind, and you can see people who aren't loyal. And you get that because of your past experiences. And so I'm very glad that I kind of got that superpower. The people that have suffered the most, they are the people who can help the most, they can care the most, because they understand it. They understand the pain, and they've gone through it.
Last spring, as it was becoming clear that the new virus with the funny name was going to alter our work and lives, we developed a habit of watching the daily press briefings in the office. This was back when such an event contained new information every single day, it seemed like, and our staff wanted that information as fast as we could get it so that we would be ready to support families and care for kids, even if and when the policies and strategies we were accustomed to were all suddenly rewritten. And I remember watching those and wondering what was going to happen, not just globally or for me, but for Skookum kids and our staff and our families and the kids we care for. And what we learned is that we've been developing skills and attitudes as an organization that prepared us for the last 19 months. It turns out that working with families in foster care is a great training ground for a global pandemic. We're used to upheaval and contingency planning and focusing on the people who matter the most. Semper paratus, always ready. That is the motto of our emergency shelters. It means whether times are precedented or not, our volunteers and staff have risen to the challenge and been available whenever kids need a safe place to spend their first nights in foster care. And in the long shadow of COVID, the volunteers and staff at our shelters have been called upon just over 300 times to provide a safe night's sleep for a child entering foster care. The youngest of those children was just 2 days old. That's a record for us. Came straight from the hospital. And after a short time in our care, we realized that this precious little baby should return to the hospital where he could be monitored more closely as he detoxed from the substances his mother was dependent on during her pregnancy. That boy did nothing wrong. How could he? A confusing combination of awful circumstances and other people's bad decisions meant he didn't have a home or a family, at least temporarily. And we were called on to be substitutes for the night. And that's the spirit that permeates every corner of Skookum Kids. We don't demand to know the details of the crisis or who's at fault, but we stay ready to be part of the solution. When children find themselves here, we pull them in as close as they want and we whisper, "We'll be whatever you need for as long as you need and never demand anything in return." Another child who sticks out in my memory was a young woman who turned 13 while she was in our care. And her story reminds me how we've all relearned how to celebrate as a global community in the last 19 months. Yeah, we've learned that a parade of cars can be just as honoring as a ballroom full of people, and that enthusiasm and intention can make up for a lot of perfectly made plans. This is a skill we've gotten to practice for years. When a birthday or other important holiday is celebrated at the house, it's always fun because the celebration, particularly birthdays, they come together really fast. It feels like the plot of a musical, honestly. In this case, I learned, I think it was late on a Thursday night, that the child in our care had a birthday the following day, and there was a group text chain where preparations were being made. Now, I know less than nothing about how to properly celebrate a birthday for a 13-year-old girl, so I was no help. But Abby, Kayla, Maddie, and a number of our volunteers bedazzled the house overnight. And she woke on the morning of her birthday to a house full of balloons and glitter. My shift at the house is the Friday overnight. So, I finish work, go have dinner with my family, put my 3 boys to bed, and have a few minutes to chat with my wife, Keely, and then arrive at the house by 9 p.m. Usually I help finish bath time or read bedtime stories. But this young woman who'd been celebrating all day was in the midst of a movie marathon with Abby Smith, our director of programs. When I arrived, the 2 of them were pulling a pizza out of the oven. I think they'd already had cake, which you're allowed to do on your birthday, right? Cake before pizza. And then they started some film that I'd never seen, but had a pink convertible on the cover. Whatever it was, I can confirm that both Abby and the birthday girl seemed to know every single word of the dialogue. It was very uncomfortable for me. Felt like I was crashing a slumber party, honestly. But she seemed to be having fun, so we'll count it as a win. Our staff saw her and took the time to figure out who she was and then deemed that a person worthy of celebration. We took what might have otherwise been a major disappointment for that young girl and made something special out of it. COVID has changed a lot of plans. We've all had practice setting aside our hopes, at least temporarily, and waiting for things outside our control to change. I think the first time that I spoke publicly about our shared desire to export the Skookum approach to another community was at the very first Eat, Drink, and Be Giving. We were downtown at the Majestic in Bellingham, and we printed 4 big goals on pieces of stretched canvas. I still have the prints, actually, but we don't get them out much anymore because now that our second emergency shelter has finally opened in Ellensburg, Washington, all 4 of those goals have been accomplished. It took longer than we expected, thanks to COVID, but a passionate group of local leaders showed some stunning persistence as they rallied to secure a house, update it for licensure as an emergency shelter, outfit it to care for kids of all ages, and build a team of passionate volunteers who are ready at a moment's notice. It was really fun for me to participate in, and frankly, it made me reminisce a lot about the early days of the work in Bellingham. Just a few months ago, we cared for the first child at the Ellensburg house. And just a few weeks ago, we added the foster care licensing and parent-child visitation capabilities in Ellensburg as well. So the next year in Ellensburg will be about scale, about rising up to meet the needs of every child and their family from that part of the state who find themselves entangled in the foster care system. Just like all of you, Skookum Kids has become a master of the pivot this year. Education is a huge challenge for kids in foster care. Many of these kids have missed a lot of school or changed schools frequently, and it's common for them to be quite a bit behind grade level when they arrive in our care. But during the pandemic, those struggles became even worse. Every parent that I know is dealing with lost school time. But kids in foster care have that challenge in addition to the gaps that were already present in their education. Last summer, our team converted a mentorship program to an academic tutoring intervention. Ellie, our volunteer coordinator, looked at the resources she had available and made sure that college students and retired educators and certified teachers were being put to the right use. Through my office door, every day I got to watch as 2 to 3 young people sat with volunteers to practice their math or reading. And sometimes it was the only in-person instruction they had all year. In the early days of COVID, it seemed like everybody was at home baking bread and watching Tiger King. But many of you were filling out foster care applications instead because we got a huge wave of interest all at once, which was great. Bring it on. We love training and supporting foster families who want to provide the best care for kids in our area. We made quick work of those applications and trained a bunch of families over Zoom, which was new. And it's frankly made us rethink how we provide quality education and training in more accessible ways in the future. You see, we go about foster care a little differently. The Manning family, who you heard from, are a great example of how we prioritize relationships. You know, in essence, foster care is an agent of separation. It cleaves a family in two, separating innocent children from struggling parents. Traditional foster care uses children like hostages to motivate parents' behavior. Believe me, the more you think about it, the more uncomfortable it will make you. Suffice it to say, that is not how we want to work. Skookum doesn't play any role in deciding which children should be removed from their family and placed with strangers. But we do have a great deal of influence over what kind of experience is had by both kids and the parents who find themselves caught up in this system. Our goal is to reverse that removal. Another way to say it might be that Skookum Kids is not a foster care agency. It is a reunification agency. We've had enough separation in the past 19 months, don't you think? We've all experienced firsthand what it means to be apart from the people you love, maybe for health or safety reasons, or maybe because the distance became harder to cover. We've missed each other. So we've met babies through windows and taught our grandparents how to use an iPad and converted our patios into living rooms because we've all come to understand that connection is survival and there is always a way to do it safely. In foster care, it starts with visits. Most kids in foster care have court-ordered visitation with their parents. In the last year, Skookum staff facilitated more than 1,000 of these visits. We make sure they happen consistently and safely, and we use that context to begin building a relationship with parents. Often, the first introduction is a notebook that's passed back and forth in the child's backpack. Foster parents will introduce themselves, thank parents for the incredible honor of caring for their child for a while. Bio parents will write back, sometimes sharing about themselves too and ask them about their child. We find parents are mostly just really curious about what life is like inside a foster home. They want to know that their children are in safe, loving homes. And of course, wouldn't you and I be the same? Next, somebody shares a phone number. And those notes back and forth become a running text exchange full of encouragement and pictures of kids. And then, when it's safe, foster families and parents meet up, and we start squeezing in extra visits between the ones the court tells us we have to do. And before you know it, a foster family is showing love and care for an entire family unit. And we're set up for exactly the kind of magic you heard the Mannings describe. Their story is not a happy accident. It works that way by design. This approach, in addition to feeling radically different, just flat out works better. In traditional foster care, reunification is technically the goal, but without this methodical relationship building strategy, it only results in reunification 51% of the time. But here at Skookum, buckle up, okay? Because I'm about to give you the single statistic that I am most proud of. Are you ready? Here at Skookum, families involved in foster care reunify 87% of the time. Now, despite our best efforts, there are just going to be situations where reunification is impossible. And in those cases, like Kara's adoption, provides another happy ending. But through gracious, accepting relationships with biofamilies, we can inspire them to hope for healing, to reach for a life that they thought might be impossible for their family, and to go get it. And 87% of them succeed, and that's incredible. And it's because of you. The generous and faithful support provided by individuals, businesses, and churches all across our community give us the opportunity to do foster care differently, to do the work that needs doing, not just the work the contracts will cover. When you give, when you volunteer, when you tell others about Skookum, you are making it possible for families torn apart by abuse and drug addiction and mental illness and poverty to find healing, to put themselves back together through foster care. So thank you. About 1/3 of Skookum's total budget comes to us through a set of 6 contracts that we hold with the state of Washington. The rest, 2/3 of those safe night stays at the house, 2/3 of those spontaneous birthday parties, 2/3 of those parent-child visits, 2/3 of those foster home licenses, and 2/3 of those reunified families would not be possible if not for the faithful generosity of people just like you who gave in moments just like this one. So I've got to ask, would you consider giving generously to support this life-changing work? Visit skookumkids.org/give, and there you will find multiple secure ways to support foster kids. Thanks to the generosity of our event sponsors, the Moyot Group, Hempler's Foods, and others, the modest costs of this virtual event are completely covered already. So everything you give tonight will go directly to the work. A gift in any amount or any format will help kids and families, but pledges of regular monthly financial support provide a stable foundation on which we can boldly do foster care differently. Once again, that's at skookumkids.org/give. And thank you for joining us tonight, for your faithful generosity, and for your help spreading the word about this incredible mission. Have a good night.